when we make soaps, we look into the ingredients that we're using and the fact that you're putting that onto your skin. Now, the thing with candles is this is something that you smell. And I know that Bath and Body Works has been under fire a lot because come to find out, like a lot of the scents that they were putting into their candles, which everybody can't wait for the candle sale at Bath and Body Works. Like, that is the thing. But come to find out, like, a lot of their scents were toxic. They were endocrine disruptors, messing with people's hormones. And so my question to you is just as far as, like, what have you researched as far as what Bath and Body Works uses and how you differ from them?
So they have a lot of extra additives and stuff in there. And so that can cause a lot of the issues too. Like, yeah, it might smell good, but you have to remember when stuff is mass produced, it's cut cost to make bigger profit.
Hello.
And I don't think people understand that. So when they come to artisans like myself and you, and they go, I can go to Bath and Body Works and get it for 25 cents. That's because they've cut a lot of corners.
It's cheap.
It's cheaper. You don't, when we're trying to give it to you natural and vegan and, it's healthy. More quality.
Yes.
That costs money.
What's up, Urban Eden family? Welcome back to another Urban Eden podcast. I'm your host, Taryn Lewis, and we have another episode for you guys today. Today is going to be a little bit different than our past episodes because we're going to be talking to Anikitia Abrams. She goes by Keisha.
Yes.
She goes by Keisha. We're going to be talking to her today, and at some point we'll tie in like holistic health and, her journey with holistic health at some point. But I was really interested in talking to her because me and her recently just had a conversation last week. And we got to talking about her organization that she does with helping young girls in STEM and just cultivating their passion and the way that they learn through STEM. And it was so interesting that I asked her to be on the podcast today so that we could dive deeper into what she does, her journey, and then just talk about topics around STEM and the next generation, essentially. So it'll be a little bit different. I'm excited to have this conversation. When we talked on the phone, we were just going at it, like just
we
talking.
Ran out of time.
We ran out of time on there, so it was like, okay, let's definitely have a conversation on the podcast. And hopefully you guys like what we're talking about today. And if you do, of course, like, subscribe, and comment down below. Before I get into that formal introduction of Anikitia,
It's Anikitia.
Anikitia. Y'all, her name is very unique. I have honestly never met anybody. We'll get there. I'm like, where did the name come from? Everything. I wanted to make sure I say it right. But she said that we could just call her Keisha because I mess up the Ani and the Annie.
No
Ani
problem.
and the Annie. Lord, I got to get it right. Okay. But yeah, so let's feature our Urban Eden products and show what we're talking about today. Y'all know that the holidays are about to come up. It's November. Time is moving fast. 2024 is almost over. But with the holidays coming up, Urban Eden has some really great gifts for you guys to give out to others or to put on your gift list for others to get for you. And I just wanted to feature some of the ones that I think would be some really great gifts. And our mini products, our little sample sizes or travel sizes, make great gifts to put into stocking stuffers or to be able to easily wrap. I was showing you guys our little body care mini kits that we have. We also have our facial mini kits, the hyperpigmentation and the activated charcoal one. But these are our body care minis. We do one in lemongrass and patchouli, neem and chlorella, and also lavender. They come with bar soap, body wash, and body oil. So these are some cool little kits to give away to friends or to put on there so that you'll have all the Urban Eden essentials. And then also just wanted to show you guys our little Urban Eden bar soaps too. These really make for great gifts. And then of course you can put these like on your guest bathroom, on the counter. What I've started doing recently is keeping these in my purse. Because now every time when I'm telling somebody about Urban Eden, I feel like it's like on one end you could tell people like about your business and tell them about the things that you offer, but having it there in person for them to like smell, see, touch, all of the senses, it really goes a long way. So these are our minis, and for the holidays, y'all get y'all some. And you don't even have to just get them for the holidays though. These are just great to have just on you whenever you just need a little one too, real quick.
Well, I would definitely be buying some stocking stuffers for my children, and I would definitely be using some of the bar soaps as well. So you already sold me. So.
Hello. And go ahead and open up this lemongrass and patchouli and check that one out. And you can have that one too to take with you. So that's one that you already get.
Oh, this is nice.
So we put the
let's see. Okay. A great travel size, especially when you're traveling. I don't like the hotel soaps, so I'm always packing my own, but this is great to have in the purse. Hand soap if you are out at the restaurants, because you never know when you're going to need that. In the body wash.
Mm-hmm. You can
and
use the body wash as a hand
antiseptic. I like that. All natural. I love that. And we have the lemongrass body oil. So this is all amazing. And they're great to put in purses. I have 4 daughters. So, and so this is great for their little purses. You know how they have those little side things. This is all great. And they would definitely be using this. I would definitely be, not just them, but they would use this. They would love this. You have a customer in me already.
Wow, I appreciate it.
Because they would love this. So thank you. And lemongrass is one of our favorites.
That's what I figured. I was like, you give lemongrass vibes.
I love lemongrass. I'm sorry, I don't want to go off tangents, but even in my candle shop, it has to have a lemongrass in. It's a staple. I might change out everything, but I don't change out my number 6.
That's interesting, because for me, it's lavender. I'm like, I got to stay up off the lavender. Like, I can't mix everything with lavender, but look, we make it work. So yeah, that's our the lemongrass and patchouli is one of our most popular scents. A lot of people like those two together, so definitely wanted to gift those to you so that you can check those out. No problem.
This is awesome. I would definitely be holding on to that and purchasing before I leave.
Hello. We'll get you together. All right. So now let's get into the fun stuff. We'll get into the formal introduction and then hop into this conversation that we need to have. Okay. All right. Let me not mess up the name. I'm so good at names. So
Anikitia.
Because I want to say Anikitia. Anikitia. And we're going to ask where does this name come from? Because it's given like Native American, Alaska. I don't know what's giving it like Alaska.
When I tell you the story, you're gonna be like, "That's it."
Okay, so I'm interested. Okay, so Anikitia Abrams isn't just an entrepreneur; she's a movement. With an MBA from Mercer University and currently pursuing her Doctor of Business Administration at Walton University, she is a shining example of how passion and purpose can light the way. The vision behind PrettyLuxco, as the founder of PrettyLuxco, making Georgia's first Black-owned and woman-owned candle-making studio, Anikitia has created more than a business. She's built a legacy. PrettyLuxco is where handmade artisan candles and skincare products meet the power of community. But Keisha didn't stop there. She used her platform to launch the S.T.E.M and Cosmetic Science Collective, a program designed to introduce underserved communities to STEM fields, ensuring that young minds, especially young girls, can dream bigger and reach higher. Yes. Keisha's reach extends far beyond her business. She is partnered with Spelman College and the Bibb County Board of Education, working tirelessly to bridge the gap for Black men and women in the cosmetic science field. Through these collaborations, she has opened doors for students to explore the world of STEM and cosmetic science, nurturing a new generation of thinkers, creators, and leaders. Her journey is marked by strategic brilliance and an unwavering commitment to lifting others as she climbs. Keisha has years of experiencing managing high-value contracts, teaching, mentoring, and developing workshops that merge STEM education with business acumen. She's led programs that inspire young women and empower marginalized communities, turning potential into purpose and dreams into reality. And last but not least, but beyond the accolades and accomplishments, Keisha is a devoted mother of 6. Yes. Shout out to her, because it's hard to be a mother of 1. So mother of 6. Yes. She embodies the balance of ambition and love, seamlessly weaving her professional pursuits with her role as a wife and mother. In every step, she is driven by the desire to create meaningful change and build a world where everyone has a chance to shine. So without further ado, let's welcome Anikitia Abrams.
Well, thank y'all. Thank you for having me, Taryn. That's just hearing you read that out. I was like, I did that.
That's how it is hearing a bio of yourself.
It is so crazy because I always just be like, I'm just Keisha. I'm just in fact, I have a hashtag called plain old Keisha. And so I've always just been like the underdog. And so, people just kind of, because you're quiet, you say to yourself, so people really don't know what you have going on. And then when you pop out, it's like, she did that? But yep, plain old Keisha.
Wow.
And so that's my little hashtag, plain old Keisha. So when I do something big, I still hashtag plain old Keisha because like, look, y'all didn't see it for me, but look where I'm at today. So
and it's good to, I guess, in one way, look at yourself like that, but we're not going to dim your light. And the reason why we even have you here on your podcast is because you're extraordinary, you're interesting.
Thank you.
And just even having the initiative in Macon to start the candle making company for one, and then on one side to teach younger children and the younger generation about STEM and how fun it actually can be is monumental. Like you said, when you started in the bio, said you're a movement, and so you're definitely a movement for just finding that light and sharing that with others.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
We do ordinary things, but you're really, really extraordinary in every way. So.
And it's funny because I feel the same way about you. Watching you guys, I actually found y'all in 2020 when we were all sitting at home. Yeah. And I was like, and I actually had started making candles and, body oils and butters at home. And then you came across my page and I'm like, oh, she's doing the same thing I'm trying to do. But I didn't know what on the scale, honey. I thought we were starting around the same time.
Oh, did you start in 2020?
I did.
Oh, okay.
I did. Yes. And so then, but I was watching you go to like farms, pick the lavender and the herbs that you're actually putting in. And I was like, oh, no, I don't even. Oh, this is a whole nother level of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking just grab the oils and the butters but I didn't realize how deep it was. So I did watch your journey going into the farms and stuff like that. And I was like, I aspire to do that. And so I have visited a few farms. And do I know what I'm doing? Not yet. Because I don't know what I'm looking for, but I did watch it. I did want to see that experience. But I will be doing more intentional now that I know, now that I'm teaching myself, teaching students, like all of this is intentional and it has its purpose. And so I don't want to take over, but yeah, I definitely feel that way about you and how you've grown. How you was able to raise money. I read y'all's story about how you got the big order and you was like, what we gonna do, how we gonna do it, and look where you at today. Walked into the warehouse and it smelled like lemongrass love. And the workers there, your beautiful store, your beautiful daughter Eden. I'm highly inspired and I just had to share that with you before I forget to say that on this podcast.
I appreciate
you are amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. As I say, see, of course we look at ourselves as regular, but definitely just out here just doing the work, and when you walk in your purpose, then everything else flows and follows.
That's true.
All right, so me and you, we had a general conversation last week, but me and you don't even really know each other. So at this point on this podcast, we gotta take some time. I want to know more about you.
Okay.
First of all, just say your name again.
So my name is Anikitia Abrams.
Anikitia Abrams. Okay, can you tell us the backstory of your name, and then also just general backstory, like where you're from, how did you get into candle making?
Okay. So Anikitia is something my mom chose. She told me she was looking at African basketball, and there was a African basketball player named Nikita. For whatever reason, my mama wanted me to have the Sh. Her name is Patricia. And so for whatever reason, the Sh was important. So she blended Patricia and Nikita and came up with Anikitia. My daddy is Jamaican as well, so I know she has a lot to do with Caribbean and Africa. And she do vibe with that. So I have not seen this African basketball player she speaks of. I don't even think I actually researched it. I was just like, why did you give me a difficult name? That's
it's not difficult. It's beautiful. It's hard. Like, honestly, before you told me, I wouldn't have knew that it was pronounced like that. And that's why I say I'm a very big name person. But my name is Taryn, and people act like my name is so hard to say, too.
Oh,
I'm like,
easy.
It's Karen with a T, Sharon with a T, like Aaron with a T.
Right. I mean, you can't mess that up. It's almost kind of remind me of terracotta. So I was like, oh, so Taryn. That's easy for me to remember. But with my name, it has been pronounced every way under the sun, from Anikitia to Anikitia.
Tia.
Anikitia.
People just reading real fast. Y'all ain't even pronouncing the letters.
Right. Or if I even say my name is Anikitia, I still get called Anikitia.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, I'm struggling with the Ani and Annie. But honestly, people name like Andrea and Andrea.
Yeah.
It's a struggle for me too. I'm like, how you pronounce your name? So
I have
that
a friend.
that A will get you.
I have a classmate and I have a friend. Her name is Andrea, spelled Andrea, and then I have Andrea, and they're spelled the exact same
way, but then it's said two different ways. So
yes,
it'll get you to it.
So I just tell people, call me Keisha. Okay. My friends call me Keisha. Now, business, everything is gonna have my government name, and I actually work. So part of my contract in my bio is that I actually work for the federal government. I am a contract specialist, and so that was also an intentional career. I've been looking to do that career since I was 16 years old, and I finally achieved it. So it is my dream career. And then the candle business started in 2020 when we were going through the pandemic. It was birthed out of anxiety. Because I was literally staying up 24 hours a day thinking, who's gonna come in this house coughing? My husband, he was a worker. I was a teacher at the time. I was a 5th grade math teacher at Bruce Elementary in Bibb County, and we didn't have any students. Schools were let out early, and so you have your kids, and you're the mom that's got to make sure we don't go to the hospital, because it was like, when you go to the hospital, you're not coming back. So it was elderberry syrup. It was, take this vitamin, take your zinc, take everything. And so my husband was an essential worker, so it was constantly worrying about him. So while the family is resting, I'm up like, how can I keep everybody safe? And then I start staying up 24 hours. Like, I didn't get any sleep. Like, literal, I did not get any sleep due to anxiety. And so I was like, I got to find something to do. So I found this company called Wood and Wick Co. because I wanted to make candles, but I did not want to do the cotton wick. For whatever reason, they didn't resonate with me. Okay. I'm a person who loves crackling wood. And so I found Wood and Wick Co. That was the name at the time. It's now called Makesy. And
okay, I'm familiar. And actually, I like dabbled in candles, and I bought like a whole little candle situation from Makesy. So they do a lot of stuff.
And I did too. I bought a little candle set. And then I was like, let me see if I could do this. It was kind of you put in the microwave. I was like, this seemed easy enough. And so I started actually going into figuring out what's the wax and what difference do the wax make and the wick make. And then as I was making the line at home, I was bringing my friends along the journey, getting that social media hype up. And I actually created the line, and I realized how therapeutic it was. Like how I found like I had a purpose, like I had a reason. I woke up every day like, let me get to the next step in this.
I got something to do.
Yeah, I'm building something. And not only did I do the candles, I was making the oils and the body butters and just all of those things. Because at this point, everything was finna be natural. Because baby, I didn't know what was going on, so we was gonna be urban everything. And so I was doing all of that from the house, and like I said, we was just at home, and it was so therapeutic in making it. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do this for the community. Like, I want to bring this to everybody. I want everybody to be able to experience making candles. And when I made the line sold out. When I finally said, okay, everybody, the line is ready, the candle line sold out, and it was doing well. And so 2021, we have this thing in Macon called Newtown Macon, and they have an entrepreneurship class. And so I created in the class verbatim my customer, the product, what I want them to have, how I want it to look. And at the time, bigger cities like Miami and all of that was doing it. And I even looked at like one or two in Atlanta. I can't think of the name of them now, but it was like one or two I saw in Atlanta that was doing it. And so I was just like, we would need something like that in Macon. If you know anything about Macon, we are the heart of Georgia, right? We're in the center. And so like we're kind of like not too far from Savannah, not too far from, Valdosta and Atlanta or Alabama. We're like really in the center of everything, but we're still considered somewhat of a small town. Like, we're bigger than a small town, but we don't have a lot.
I know I'm not that familiar with Macon.
Yeah, so people are like, in Macon, our good time is going to Atlanta. Right. Oh, honey, we everything. We going to Atlanta. Oh, I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to Atlanta to eat. I'm going to Atlanta to make candles. I'm going to Atlanta to make perfume. And I'm a person who think outside the box. And I was like, the reason we have to travel so far is because someone simply didn't bring it here.
Wow.
So let me bring it here, and we won't have to go an hour and a half to make candles, right? And so that's what I decided to do. So 2021, I built the brand, and I troubleshooted it in a mall. I literally built a kiosk from doors at Home Depot. Like, I literally took doors.
Oh, they didn't provide the kiosk at the mall? You had to
They
build your
did,
own?
but it was
Oh.
not my vibe.
Okay, it wasn't. He was like, I'm about to make my own situation.
I was like, listen, give me the space, but I'm creating my own kiosk. So, like, don't even charge me for your kiosk. Because it was just one of those little kiosk things on a wheel. And I didn't want that. When you came to buy my soaps and my candles and all of that, I want you to feel like you came to like a mini store. So I took walls, and my cousin, which is like a brother and his wife, they helped me with my letters and my logos. And I had already had a logo, but they printed everything out for me, and it literally looked like a little mini luxury kiosk that I built. I'll show you some pictures later so that maybe you will upload or whatever, but I wanted something that when you came, it didn't feel like I was just sitting in the middle of the mall.
Right.
And so when I got good business there, and then around February of 2022, we actually did the candle making session because it was around Valentine's Day. So the idea was you can come make candles for you and your sweetheart or you and your friend. And again, remember, this is the first time in Macon and Warner Robins that anybody is doing anything like this. And I'm smack dab in the middle of the mall. And we had great turnouts. We had people like actually made it a date night at the mall and went to the movies afterwards. They had a really good time. And then I found out I was pregnant.
And that'll like, hold on, now I got to slow down.
Yes, I found out I was pregnant with my 6th child. And I was shocked because there's a 6-year gap between my last 3. Oh. So my first 4 are doorsteps. They're back to back to back. And then the last teenager was supposed to be the baby. And then 6-year gap, here come my Giselle, who should have been the baby. And then 6 years after Giselle, here comes Gavin.
Started all over again.
Dear God, I don't want any more 6-year surprises.
Like, close me up.
We're done. And so and then of course I was 37 at the time, and so it was high risk. And my husband was like, nope. Everything shut down. So I was sat down during the entire pregnancy.
So you stopped selling in the mall? Like I stopped, in the mall and all that?
Everything, because it became high risk. Like my service and stuff had started thinning, and so it was really just like take it easy. And I had so many doctor's appointments at 37. I guess it's a good thing because like I have so many ultrasounds of my baby to the point where it was like, here, mom, here's, mother-in-law, here, y'all can have these because I got plenty. Wow. And so they watched him heavily, and then they thought something was wrong with his heart. And so I had more ultrasounds and stuff from there. So I had so many doctor's appointments. And then September, I had him, and I had to stop work, everything. And September, I had him, but by week 8, I was back at work. Oh, wow. And so I actually started working at Star-Based Robins, which is a STEM academy for 5th graders.
What's it called?
It's Star-Based Robins. Y'all might have one here in Atlanta called Star-Based Dobbins. So every military base should have like an educational STEM program. One, because they're trying to get them into, STEM and aerospace, because they're trying to also get the young minds to thinking about the military and working in it. And so all I did was teach STEM 5 days a week. And
what did that look like for you teaching STEM?
I loved it. Oh my! So what I love about it is that we would get one school. So let's say it's the Urban Eden Academy, right? And they will come the entire week, Monday through Friday. And we had days where we're teaching the table, we're teaching viscosity, we're teaching all different science stuff that it's the same every week, but we were teaching it to these students like it was new to them because they didn't see it. I might have saw it. So we had to reset every day, but the kids would be so intrigued by what we would have. And I would notice that the other students from schools, and when I say other, they would be saying, oh, I want to be in biomedical. I want to be in engineering. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a neuroscientist. Then I would ask us, and they were like, I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a rapper. I want to do hair like my mama. And none of that, nothing is wrong with that. but I noticed that there was a difference in
They
how.
didn't know different career paths.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And we grew up black. I mean, we blacks ourselves, so it's like even
Exactly.
just us growing up. Even when you said you being 16 and just wanting to be a government contract worker, like I didn't think nothing about that. Like it was super super basic just growing up. Like you didn't know about too many, you know, like maybe an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer, fireman, rapper, athlete. Like
when you said accountant, that was my. I'm going to go to college and major in accounting, but I knew that I wanted to work in contract specialist. I knew that I wanted to work in contracting, period, with the government, because without them, we can't purchase anything that the war fighters need.
Right. Okay.
And so I always had a crazy interest in that. I guess I'm a bit of a nerd, and I'm literally I can go back as far as 2006 in my application profile and show and prove that I had been applying to work where I'm currently working since 2006 at least.
Oh, you stayed persistent.
I was very persistent, year after year after year. But I noticed with my students though, they just, and I would ask them, well, now that you've had this experience, we'll give them a beginning survey and an ending survey. And then they'll be like, now that I've seen it, then it kind of sparked their interest. But the company that I worked in, because again, I think outside the box, they had a way of doing things. This is how we do it. It's repetitious, blah, blah, blah. For me, I'm thinking as a previous teacher in Bibb County, if you don't show them something fun, you're not going to catch them, right? So when we would show them career videos, and they was talking about, I'm gonna work at McDonald's, or I'm gonna work with my, because kids only talk about what they see.
What they see.
And I would show them, we got a robot, miso robot, that's already flipping fries and burgers, right, in California. No way. Yeah, look, they're going to replace you with a robot. And they don't call out. They don't need health insurance, right? So what are you going to do if you're replaced by the robot?
Hello.
And so I would show them, and it was like, no way that there's a robot. So I start taking out videos. And they were like, oh, wow. I said, so now you can still work in fast food, but you might need to be the person that codes the robot.
That works the machine.
There you go.
Like you said, codes the robot or works the machine.
Exactly.
Like you need to know how to
because the machine is still a machine. It needs help at some point. It needs to be troubleshooted, right? So I was like, started getting them to think about that. Then we would get Amazon workers online and have them talk. We would get the people from the military and have them talk. Georgia Power and have them talk. But then I got to thinking like, all that sounds good, but we're talking to fifth graders. And a lot of it, while it might seem cool to them, it's not their everyday life,
right.
Especially for us in the marginalized communities where they don't get to see that every day. That's not their everyday life.
Right.
And so one day my supervisor came to me and he said, we're going to have this thing called Saturday Spark, and you need to come up with a lesson plan. And I said, well, I already make candles, and you know that there's a science behind it, right? And he was like, okay, make the lesson plan, show it to me, and let me see what we're working with. So I made up the lesson plan, because at this point, we're going from fifth graders to middle schoolers. So I had to make sure that the lesson plan was on middle school level.
Right.
And so I did the lesson plan. I made the slides, the whole lesson, so he can see it, taught it to him. He was like, all right, it's a go. Wow. And so we did. So I launched the candle stem with star-based robins. And just to see how they would attract to it. And it was one of the best parts of their experience that Saturday. So we had parents calling back and saying, what kind of fragrance did y'all use? This candle lasts longer than Bath Body Works, like what? And I only had them use like a 5-ounce tin can. I didn't let them do what I would do with adults.
Right.
And
they don't need too much of something small, so they get the experience.
Right.
Yeah. And something to take on.
And it was gender fluid too. So I didn't say girls only.
Right.
Or no boys allowed. It was everybody is involved, because candle making is therapeutic for all. It's for everybody. It is gender neutral. I don't know why a lot of times when people think candle making that they only girls, right? I even have to tell it to my adult males, and I think it's just the way society has.
I was about to say, it's just us making, like just home making, or making is pertain to, I guess, women in general, but it's like you said, it's STEM, it's a science to it. It's a science breakdown. It's even like us having the soap making company. And Quentin, when we first started, he was doing gardening, which I know we'll talk about at some point too. He was doing gardening, but then he was like, oh, like making soap. And even our soap makers are all guys, like, because it's a lot of heavy lifting too at some point. Yeah. So it's like, it's really no like gender type based situation. You're right. It's science.
And it is all science. And we have to remove all those gender profiles on certain things, like even down to dance, but that's a different topic. But what made people feel good is what they should be able to do. But in that experience of launching it, I was like, I'm on to something. Yeah. To have the middle school boys look forward to it, and were excited about it, was excited to take it home, and the parents calling back. I was like, this is, at first I was like, I need to make it a nonprofit. But then I was like, no, as I'm building, because at this time I was still revamping PrettyLux into what I wanted it to be. And I was like, this could be just more of my educational initiative. As a previous educator who worked in the field for 4.5 years, working with students and understanding that kids that look like my children don't get to see a lot of stuff outside of their communities. And so I was like, let me bring that to the schools, but I want to do it my way. Right. Because if you might not know a lot about education, but honey, there's a roadmap for the teachers, and they got to stick to this roadmap, and they don't get to deviate from it. And so when they stick to this roadmap and all of the things that they have to do, sometimes you leave out the fun, because I got to get you ready for the Georgia milestones. Right. But here come me. Hey, I can come after school. And so that's what I currently do. I go right now with high schoolers, but I have gone to elementary schools, and I've taught them the science behind it, the solids, liquid, gas, and plasma states for those younger kids, or breaking down the actual molecular levels for the college students. So we'll get into that in a minute. So I'm able to diversify and fix my lesson plans to fit whatever audience I'm reaching. Right. And that part has probably been my most fulfilling, is the candle making, watching people create their own stuff, and then actually going into the schools and having kids who, when I went to the after school program this time around, they were looking at me like, what you talking about, lady? When I first started. And now, last week we did candle making, and they were so excited, the boys and the girls, just bringing out the wax and the fragrance the week before and let them see what we're going to be working with. They were so excited to just smell the scent. Wow. And I was like, don't let anybody put you in a box. This is fun, and it's therapeutic. In the days that you might be mad, this is something you can take and make a business out of. Bath and Body Works started because somebody had a business, and now they got all these stores. They had a mindset of making something, and I was like, their stuff is poured out of China. Right. You can hand pour your stuff. You can create it. And so I actually took my business model, and I was like, I no longer open in the store. I mean, in the kiosk, I have my own flagship store. Built it and designed it from scratch. How it looks is how I wanted it to look. I wanted it to be clean and chic. And then in the process, of course, I still was making my soaps and my body butters and stuff like that. And as I'm rebuilding and rebranding, I decided to reach out to Spelman, Dr. Latay Winfield. I saw that over the summer they was doing like a camp or a STEM symposia, and I had never heard of it. But I knew that I wanted to work. I just got out of my head. Sometimes you get in your own head and you go, they're not going to work with me. I'm not big enough. I'm a nobody, right? And I was like, let me just reach out to Dr. Latay and tell her what I do with Candle STEM and see how we can blend with the beauty symposium. I was actually just reaching out to see if I can do something to get some students in her program. And about 2 weeks later, she wrote me and was like, I'd like to hear more about what you do. So then, of course, I go into my whole spiel and what I do. And then she was like, I want something from you. I know you're asking something from me, but I want you to come and teach my students how to make candles. And we're going to be talking about the facts and the waxes and the oils within the candle making. So, like, my situation was I had to dive deep into, okay, these are college students they've already taken a science chemistry class. Right. So I need to talk like I know what I'm talking about. So you do know what you're talking about. You're like, I just got to come correct. Yeah, I got to come correct. And so I did my research and I built that lesson plan up, and those students enjoyed from start to finish. Of course, Dr. Latay sat in. And she enjoyed it start to finish, and that started my partnership with Spelman. And then so later on, she said, well, you did come to me for something, but I forgot what it was. And I explained to her, like, I want an opportunity for my girls or my students, because at the time, the after school program was like, oh, we'll just have all the girls do it. And I kept saying, well, it's gender neutral, but it was like, we'll have all the girls do it, you know. So I was just like, well, I want the girls to see, because I know Spelman is an all girls school, so I want them to see what cosmetic science actually is. This is something that y'all probably already doing on YouTube. You're already making your lip balm. You're already making your body scrubs. You're already doing these things, but you don't know why you're doing it. You don't know what exactly you're doing. You're just following directions from somebody else, right? But you don't really know. But do you know that you can take this and actually be in somebody's lab? You can create moisturizers. You can be on in Estee Lauder's intern where they're paying you $20 and $30 an hour. Did you know that? And it was like, no, I never heard of it. You don't know about research and development? That seems hard. Then
it will seem hard, but like you said, just showing them functionally that you can actually be a part of this. And I know we talked about just the fact that, I had got accepted into Spelman as well, like in 2009. So that was a long time ago. And the cosmetic chemist course was not on. It was nowhere on there. And then me just going into high school, I'm thinking like, oh, I like to talk a lot, so I'll be like a journalist or something like that. So like you said, you don't really understand the variety of jobs that you can have. And then some of it can sound too hard. And it's even me now being, 33, after working within Urban Eden for so long, and of course taking formulation courses on my own, and then understanding like, well, if I ever, didn't have my business anymore, there are other, I think once you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of always an entrepreneur in some ways.
It's in you.
But if you do go back into like, working somewhere else, it's like you still take those skills that you learn within being an entrepreneur and adding it. So like, I'm like, oh, I can look into like research and development as well, because that's something that I do like as part of my company. I'm the only person that does that essentially. But I think that's great that you're teaching that to young children, and even to go back to it not being a matter of gender, it made me think about a young kid that we know. He is probably, let me not get his age wrong, he's probably like 12 or 13, somewhere in that range, but he has a candle company, and he even talked about at the time, like some people, at school, him getting bullied at school for even just making candles, for him being an entrepreneur. Yeah. So some people might look at it, especially middle school children I heard that they are very ruthless. They bully really bad, or even like high school, but just to kind of like think outside of the box, like you said, and to be an entrepreneur, and to like, even for children, they could do something small. If you start off with candles, or if you choose like just to do bath bombs, or you choose just to do body butters, or choose just to do soap. And of course you can expand at some point, but even just having that thought process, a lot of children, when they're entrepreneurs, they think to sell what? Candy. Right. They ain't thinking to sell like candles or something unique. Yeah, most people do. It's like, because that's what we know is like, oh, well, everybody likes candy. So let me sell some candy. But selling candles is something different. Again, like you said, it helps you to learn more. You could go deeper and learn the science behind it. Even soap making, that was one of the same things we talked about. But the science behind it, understanding it, and being able to contribute to different conversations, like you said, even taking it a step further and be like, let me take this to Spelman, so that I could, show them like candles is a science. It is. There's a website called Candle Science, I think.
It is a website called Candle Science. I feel like, but it's just more of what we think about. Oh, this is where you go buy.
It's truly where you go buy.
You just go buy the stuff, right? Yes. But there's truly a science too, and not even just the science, but the technology you use. Like, I no longer have to do the double boiler method because I have a candle wax melter, and I can set the temperature to where I want it to be set. So that makes production a whole lot more faster, right? And stay tuned on that, because I'm gonna be working on something in the future. We'll come back to that. And so then you have the engineering. You can create your own scents when you scent blend. Right? You might even blend your waxes. If one wax is too soft and you want another clean burn, but you might want to, like I do soy coconut, because coconut I love the most, but it's super soft, right? But you can blend that with soy to kind of make it a nice little mixture.
And you can melt it and use those as massage oils too.
So especially the beeswax. The beeswax is perfect for it. So, and then you want to make sure you paying attention to, I don't personally like the paraffin or the gel myself, but that doesn't stop people who make those candles that look like iced coffee, right? Everybody has their preferences. You just got to know how to use it and making sure the wick. I got to explain to my kids that if I have half-inch size wick and I have a 10-inch bowl, is this wick is going to be big enough to burn that candle? And it was like, no. I said, so there's a science to the wick. It's a science to make sure you have the right wick for the right wax, for the size of the vessel, the math that's included in that, because you got to know how much fragrance to pour, how much wax to pour. So I hate when people go, oh, your little candle business. Oh, she just make candle. No, it's not. Don't little it, because there is a lot of work that went behind it, so that when you come in, I just tell you what to do,
right?
You can have the fun.
Easy part,
but I done the hard part for you. I've done the math. I've
Mm-hmm.
done the wick testing, the jar testing. I've done all of that. So when you go home, it's safe for you to burn. So don't just go, it's easy. You can that's why when I see people trying to replicate what I'm doing in the city, and of course I know competitions, what they always say, imitation is the best form of flattery. I don't believe that. I feel like that's stealing. You don't know how hard someone has worked and done the research and has done the testing, and then you think you could just look at my window and do it.
It's insulting, honestly, when somebody literally just comes behind and just copies all the things that you have done. I've had somebody do that before, and literally just down to even taking the names of your products. It's just like, I literally had to sit down, think about this, and brainstorm it for you to just come along and take that so easily. And that's even another thing to just continue to teach children as they continue to grow and learn more about businesses and different things like that, is, necessarily them not copying each other, and then also how to protect your intellectual property when you come up with something as well, so that somebody can't necessarily take your idea. And again, we're in a saturated, our industries are saturated, so you're going to have different people coming up with different things. But I think, like you were saying earlier, just always just be authentic and genuine in the work that you're doing, and then everything else will flow from there. While we were talking, I had a question that came up to mind, just as far as candles, because just even with us, I want to tie it into holistic health in general. And I know how, like, when we make soaps, we look into the ingredients that we're using, and the fact that you're putting that onto your skin. Now, the thing with candles is this is something that you smell, and I know that Bath and Body Works has been under fire a lot, because come to find out, like, a lot of the scents that they were putting into their candles, which everybody can't wait for the candle sale at Bath and Body Works, like, that is the thing. But come to find out, like, a lot of their scents were toxic. They were endocrine disruptors, messing with people's hormones. And so my question to you is, like, throughout your research of learning more about candles, like, what have you found as far as, like, because I know I've been in the Bath and Body Works, and just even me working with essential oils on one side, and then smelling various synthetic fragrances, because I know that fragrances have evolved as well, like to be better. But I had a serious headache one time leaving out of Bath and Body Works. So my question to you again is, just as far as, like, what have you researched as far as what Bath and Body Works uses and how you differ from them?
So with Bath and Body Works, I will tell you this: I do not often go in their store, because, like you said, you get a headache with it's overwhelming sometimes. And I have a candle making studio, and I'm never as overwhelmed as I am when I go into Bath and Body Works. But it's not even just the scent with Bath and Body Works; it's also the type of wax, like the paraffin wax, which is one of the highest used in commercial, because it's cheaper, and it could be a bit of a danger too. It's a bit more toxic, and then I don't think there's titles say phthalate free fragrance.
I don't know.
So, but when I last looked, I didn't see it, and I caught myself really trying to look. But they have a lot of extra additives and stuff in there, and so that can cause a lot of the issues too. Like, it might smell good, but you have to remember, when stuff is mass produced, it's cut cost to make bigger profit.
Hello.
And I don't think people understand that. So when they come to artisans like myself and you, and they go, I can go to Bath and Body Works and get it for 25 cents. That's because they've cut a lot of corners.
It's cheap.
It's cheaper. You don't, when we're trying to give it to you natural and vegan, and it's healthy, more quality, that costs money. I have a fragrance oil, just one. A 16-ounce bottle is $56, right? So you imagine me trying to make 20 candles or so, and the amount of fragrance load and stuff that I have to put in there. It gets expensive, not to mention the jars and all of that other stuff that comes with it. So, but I still manage the quality. I'm bigger on quality over quantity. And so I think that's the issue with Bath and Body Works, is the type of wax, and they don't use phthalate-free fragrances. Synthetic isn't all bad. And Dr. Latte will tell you, essentials are not all good. She'll tell everybody, cocaine is from a plant. And so not all plants and not all things natural is perfect.
There's poisonous, there's poisonous plants. There's essential, and you have to consider safety when using anything, whether it's natural or synthetic. A lot of us more so are going the natural route though, because typically those are safer things to use from plants. But of course, that's something that should be said, is to always be mindful, even if something is natural. But not only that, but we're all different. We all have a unique composition. So something that might smell good to one person might not smell good to you. Something that a person can use on their skin, you might not be able to personally use on your skin. So everybody's journey is very like personal too. It's like what works for you, but there are some things that are like overall help a lot of people.
In the synthetic, I would say when candle making, because I've tried both sides. Because remember I told you pandemic, we went herbal everything.
Right.
I found that when I was burning, outside of lavender and maybe lemongrass, but other scents, like my eucalyptus and stuff, it would smell good in my cold throw. I could smell it all through the candle.
What's a cold throw?
So a cold throw is when your candle is nice and cool. You ever picked up a candle and it's nothing burning?
Right.
And you smell it and you're like, oh, this smells good. Let me light it.
Okay.
That's your cold throw.
Right.
Your hot throw is when we light it and you can smell it across the room.
Oh, okay.
And so when you can't smell it and it's lit and you put the right amount of fragrance load, the essential oil, especially with my experience, the essential oils just don't burn that well in candles. It's very little that I can do with the essential oil. So I do have to go to the synthetic side when I want to do like a lavender or a lemongrass or something like that. But I try to get as close to less extra stuff. Like I might go to what is my favorite? Candle Flame. I think it's called Candle Flame. And they will have a patchouli. But it's patchouli, it's spice, it's vetiver, it's all other little scents in it to make the patchouli. Right? But I try not to find ones that have 10 other scents that made patchouli the scent. But they are all layers. So you have the base, the middle, and the top layer of your fragrances. So sometimes it's not all bad straight out of the bottle. They still have different spices because it takes a lot of essential oils to make one bottle. I mean, a lot of plants to make one bottle.
To make an essential oil. That's
right.
true. And essential oils actually should be treated with a little bit more respect as far as like how you use them in mass production of different things, because essential oils are very volatile, essentially. Like when they get into the air, they evaporate because of the different chemical constituents in them, and then the way that they're obtained. And that's why I said there has been some good evolution around some synthetic fragrances as far as creating more like nature identical type of oils. I think what's always important, just even for us as researchers and for consumers, is just to know what's in that oil, what's in that fragrance, because just even in my research, I found so much that when you see the word fragrance, like they just slap the word fragrance on on things, but you don't never know what's in that, and it could be so many different ingredients within that one word fragrance versus actually being more transparent with what's in there. And I do want to say, like, of course, like with us making like body care products, it's something that goes onto your skin, and candles are something that you smell, which smell is, whatever you're smelling is going into your brain, it's going into your pineal gland,
right?
And your brain is, processing that smell.
Right.
So it is important what you smell as well, but I think that you can be a little bit more lenient and have some balance there. Like you said, essential oils don't work that well in candles. Making. There are some like good ones, but they don't last that long, like you said. And if you really want the product to do what it's going to do, you need a little synthetic. A little synthetic in there. But like you said, just being more conscious of the ingredients in the scent, essentially.
Yeah. And what I try to do, too, I like to have the info sheet because they'll let you know what categories and stuff that you're working in, and then they'll let you know if it can go on your skin or if it's great for the candle. And I even broke that down to my students too, because even with your fragrances, there's a science. You can't use our fragrances. So when you ever have people like say, I'm breaking out, maybe that wasn't supposed to be used on your skin, which is where I like to go essential oils and stuff like that way. But like I explained to them when we're getting ready to go to skincare, and I was like, when we start working with these essential oils, you still can't go put no peppermint essential oil on your skin because it still need to be diluted. You don't want to go directly onto your skin. It could still be harmful that way. So don't. Yes, it's great, but don't go crazy. Everything has to be used with caution. I feel like Bath and Body Works isn't transparent with a lot of their stuff, but people know this stuff is all over TikTok and all of that, and they know it. But I've just learned that people just don't care.
They don't
care like we think they should.
And see, but then we create businesses thinking, oh, people want this and they want this, but honestly, when it comes down to like your consumer preferences, I guess at some point you just like, well, I can let this slide a little bit, and
especially
just go
when
ahead.
It comes to money, because if my 8-ounce candle, which with the premium wax, the cocoa apricot creme, the great fragrance, that I spent $56 for a 16-ounce bottle for, and the jars, if that equals out to an 8-ounce jar being $27, I can go to Bath and Body Works with my coupon to get a double wick,
and then
for less.
Bath and Body Works also. I don't know if I talked to you recently about this, but about greenwashing in general. Bath and Body Works will tell you that something is an essential oil, or like, oh, this is aromatherapy, and it's like, is it really an essential oil, or is it a nature identical oil? So it's like that lack of like educating the consumer is just not there. They're just putting words on things, saying something's natural, marketing it a certain type of way.
The only thing they can't say is it's certified. You can pretty much, like you say, greenwash anything. As long you can't call it certified or organic, because then you got to prove it.
Right, it has to have certain testing.
So as long as you don't go that route, you can pretty much go, this is natural, because I might have a drop of natural essential oil in there.
And there's that too. You can put a little drop of something and call it what you want to call it.
It's in there. And that's the thing of it. But that's why we have to, when we're building our brands and stuff, it's like it's built on purpose. Yep. And then what drives us emotionally, so that when I'm looking at my friends or my family running the Bath and Body Works Black Friday, I don't really get upset about it, right? Because maybe they're not my customer at the moment.
Hello.
Because, I always tell people, somebody had mentioned something about pricing, and I can just go here and I say, well, I understand you. Maybe, when you are able to afford what I'm doing here, then I'll be glad to have you. But I don't discount my business because I can't discount the bills. There's a overhead to cutting on those lights so you can make candles. There's an overhead for me to make the soaps and the body. The jars ain't free. The oils ain't free. The body butters that I have to actually create by hand isn't free. My time isn't free. So I don't discount in a sense of like, I'm not saying I don't have savings and sales, but I don't discount in a way where it's just like, well, this customer's complaining, let me give them a discount. Because, I'm not at a Bath and Body Works era,
and that's not
and
sustainable.
Like,
that's
it's not.
And I don't. Sometimes customers, I think, on one end, they do look at it as like, well, you should just be able to give me this or give us that. Like me and Quinn are always talking about. We always have people asking us to like give samples and donations to organizations and groups. And I'm like, y'all, if we gave out samples and donations to everybody, we wouldn't have nothing.
Yes.
Honestly, to literally all the people that ask, it is a cost. And like, even though some people might see you as bigger than what you are sometimes, but it's just like you're still a smaller business. But then also just being like more thoughtful about, just what you're creating as well. Like, these are our babies. Like, we pretty much we're putting so much consideration into the products that we're giving to people as well. So my bad. So from there, it's just like, I totally get what you're saying in that regard. Bath and Body Works will forever have a following. People are going to continue to go that route. But I think, again, it's just on us. And I think that the thing that kind of distinguishes us is just educating people more. So, like, this is why there was a need for, we know that everybody loves Bath and Body Works, but this is why there was a need for somebody to be more thoughtful in the candles that they created. And this is why there was a need for, like, body butters and soaps to be more thoughtful. And then what you're going to find is that a lot of these bigger brands are actually, like, going into the routes that smaller brands,
they always started. Even when I was in my hair care era, and I used to have a brand called Curlux Naturals back in 2014, where going natural was really like a big thing, and there wasn't a lot of natural hair products on the shelves at the time. They looked to the smaller brands to see how they was going to diversify their big brands. Remember when Pantene came out with the chocolate bottle? They start looking at, they start tapping into, the women, the African American women aren't going to relax their hair for a while. So now we're going to have to create natural hair products. So then they start, that's when the influencer game kind of blew up, and now everybody was like, oh yeah, I like this product. I love that product. I love this product. And then over time, it wasn't sustainable for some of the big brands. Like if you notice, a lot of the brands aren't necessarily going all the natural route, because now here we are with 10, 11 years later, and it's like, oh, well, okay, we're on to something else now. And we have so much saturation with the natural hair care products, and that's okay. That's cool that we're all able to eat off of that. But I think too, the bigger brands always look to the smaller brands, the ones that's in the hustle, that has done the research, that's doing the development. They're watching us constantly. So, and seeing what we're doing to say, okay, this brand is successful, we need to implement this into our brand, which I kind of hate, because I feel like just add us onto the payroll. You know what I mean? Like, help us out, partner, collaborate.
You said add on to the payroll, and actually I was going to just circle back to, that's why it's so good that you're teaching young children about STEM in general, because you are going to start having more people like ourselves like on the payroll. And you even think about like some of these brands. I know several years ago Dove did an ad where they had like a black woman with a brown shirt take off the shirt and she turned into a white woman, but it was supposed to actually like,
oh yeah,
I can't remember what the whole motive of was it, but the perspective was just taken all out of context. But I think that kind of propelled Dove to kind of like, speak to black people more and create products that are for, people of color as well. And so that's what, even just with you showing, young women and young women and young men about STEM, you're going to start opening up their minds. The companies are going to want to get them, but we need a mix of that. We need entrepreneurs, and then we do need those type of people to be in these companies, because that's what's on the store shelves essentially. And so those people being in there, they also help to bring a representation within these companies. Because I know you were saying, like, even with Spelman, like S.T.E.M works with them, and different things like that. So it's good that the children are learning STEM. I love that you are just a part of that movement and that network, because, like I said, even for Urban Eden, as we continue to go on, it's just like, man, I wish that I could find somebody to like intern at Urban Eden or something, to be like a cosmetic chemist. And I wish even for me, as like when I was a teenager going into college, that I knew about cosmetic chemistry. But for me, I know personally, like, I always grew up just thinking like science was just not that interesting. Like, yeah, you would do a cool experiment here or there, but overall it wasn't that interesting. And now that I make soap, and I started, with being at the farm and learning about agriculture, I just learned that it actually like goes so much deeper. And one of the big things that we always said was, how is this going to apply to my life when I become an adult?
And it applies. It applies. And that's when when I first entered the after school program, they was looking at me crazy, like, lady, what are you doing? But once I started spitting out the kind of careers you could actually have, they didn't think about it. Then when I showed them, like, you hear Estee Lauder, it's like, my grandmama used that, right? But when I showed them, like, Estee Lauder owns MAC and Origin and Tom Ford and all of the, I just showed them a picture of all these brands, and I was like, I know that brand, I know that brand. I said, see, you could have been in that room. And see, especially with the way our world is now, right? DEI is out the door, right? There's we don't want no DEI hires. Well, my baby won't be a DEI hire, because my baby gonna have the skill.
Very qualified.
And when I say my baby, I'm talking about all my students that I'm trying to teach the word of STEM. They won't be your DEI hire. They're gonna be your talent. They're gonna be the worker. They're gonna be the person that has the skill to do the job. Because I don't ever want someone to disqualify my child or my students and just call them DEI hires. They will be skilled when they come to you. And I had to show my students that science is not scary. You doing it every single day. Right. Every single time you mix that lip balm, to my girls, you're doing it. Guys, you're doing the engineering, you're doing the technology, you're doing the science as well with some of the stuff that you're creating. You just don't realize it because you're not breaking it down the way I broke it down to you. You didn't break down the wax to the molecular level, right? But there's a molecular molecule to it. Like, it's literally a hydrocarbon. Right. Like, it's literally that. And I was like, I didn't think about it like that. I said, because we make science so scary in school. Right. It's really more so teaching to a test. And so it's like, you got to learn this, you got to learn that, because you got to pass this test. But what if we put science in schools where kids are interested in learning it? And especially having cosmetic science, I feel like in my hometown, we don't have it. And again, I don't never want to steal someone's idea. So I'll be talking to Dr. Latte saying, we need a field. If I got to be the professor myself and I got to go get the certification myself, we need a college. We need a field in one of our colleges. We have Mercer University. We have Fort Valley. We have Middle Georgia University. We need a college course locally, that our kids can see at least a one-on-one level before they get to Spelman, if that's the case. I just need them to know that there's an opportunity out here, and I wanted them to not steer away from it. When you see someone making soap, I hate when they little this and little that our brands and our businesses, because that's danger in making the cold press and the hot press soap when you got to mix that light.
And you got to learn.
And you got to do it safe. You have to do it safe. You got to know the math. You got to know what you're doing before you pour that into that oil to make that soap. You have to know that. So while it hits your shelves in a nice little box, you don't know what it took in the background with my gloves, with my goggles, fully covered to get it safely to your table. You don't know that. But I want you to see that. Right. And you need to be in those rooms so you can continue to make a difference, so you won't be somebody's DEI hire when you go to S.T.E.M. You're going to be their skilled worker.
Yep. And you started as a child, pretty much. Like, young minds are just so impressionable. So that is truly the time to just get them in there and to kind of just bridge that gap between, science can be fun, science can be educational. And when you become an adult and you think about a career, don't forget the things that you grew up learning.
Yes.
But I mean, the cool thing is that we have the chance to be able to rewrite the narrative with our generation, and just be able to introduce children to plants and agriculture and science in different ways. So in a way that's fun for them, and also mathematics, engineering. Yes. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Yes. Okay. So
but we also have STEAM, which is the arts.
With the arts,
so A is the arts, and I always say I'm STEAM because candle can be arts.
I was about to say it's super. That's what you're actually essentially bridging the gap between, is like arts and also a science.
Yes.
So, because you can get creative, and that's essentially what soap making, of course, is like. You get creative with the ingredients, but then you also go deeper.
Yes.
Okay, so we've been talking, y'all. It's time for the podcast to close out, but we had a lot of good jewels and gems. Before we go, I want you to share. Like where you are located again, and then of course your business, and then also before you leave, just share with us just one thing that you want people to know about STEM, about candles, about your work.
So, again, I'm Anikitia Abrams. I'm located at 536 3rd Street in Macon, Georgia. My company is called PrettyLuxco, and my educational initiative is the Candle STEM and Cosmetic Science Collective. And one thing I would want you guys to know is that science is fun, and you're doing this every single day. Don't put yourself in a box. Explore, research, and don't be someone's DEI hire.
And that's good to know. Before we close out, I want y'all to know one thing that we didn't share on here, but every time I talk to anybody involved in cosmetic chemistry or chemistry in general, one thing that we always talk about is the fact that water, guys, is a chemical. So when you guys are saying like, oh, something doesn't have chemicals in it, essential oils have chemicals in them. A lot of these different things do have chemicals. And again, water is a chemical. So it's not necessarily, and even with STEM, you're also showing people not to be afraid of chemicals, because I think that as more of us go the natural route, it's like, oh, I'm just afraid of chemicals in general, but that's not what it is. It's the harsh chemicals. Right. It's the toxic chemicals, the ones that are causing cancer, the ones that are causing hormone imbalances. So what's important is learning more and just creating more awareness and teaching yourself more about chemicals like water that are actually good for you.
Yes, it's literally H2O.
H2O, like
hydrogen and oxygen.
It's not chemicals. It's literally like harsh chemicals. So it's so important for us as consumers and for us as moms and dads and being navigators to children. Yes, letting them know like. Chemicals are not all bad. There's Latin names that we have to learn for like shea butter, all those different types of things. So let's just inform ourselves better. Let's become better consumers and more aware of the world around us. Yes. So with that being said, that was another Urban Eden podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was a great conversation. And I look forward to meeting part 2 and meeting some of your children so that they can come check us out at the Urban Eden Warehouse, guys. So until next time, peace.
Bye.